Where is it supposed to see? Chapter 11, episode 1.
Yes.
Someone had to have hacked into the system. There are motion detectors covering every bit of ground. Jenkens shook her head. There was an offline backup system that monitored any change in the system. If one camera was disabled or even interrupted, it would set off an alarm. The kind of knowledge to get past all the security suggested brilliance in hacking more than killing. The death of a wealthy and influential man in a secure house in his bedroom was likely to become a media sensation. It would echo through the internet with all the distortions. Blussah rubbed his head in an attempt to pay attention. You think the killer came from the roof? How'd he get there? If we knew that we would have... fuck that. If we knew that, we would have something else to go on. Maybe they came in with a stealth helicopter that waited in the 10 minutes. Not likely. Also not impossible. A helicopter can be a strong drone, or 4, or 36, and those drones carry the killer over the roof. Waiting is just a command. The killer might not even have to be on the roof. Then why the bend though? That's the thing. It wasn't bent so much as one might expect from the weight of the man. Maybe it was only a part of the weight because the drones had to be above the roof or they would hit the house. Then the killer reached for the window frame hanging on the harness, his weight resting against the drone. Still held up by the drone.
Eavesdrop, yeah.
Blussah thought about it for a minute before he told Jenkens to stop being an idiot. She wasn't an idiot. Her knowledge of computers and technology was well ahead of Blussah. His story was he was too old to get involved in all of it. He decided to not. His way of saying, okay, that's one way of looking at it. The killer likely never touched the ground inside the wall. That avoided almost every security feature. Airstrike wasn't accounted for in the security system. Who in the fuck would? Anyone who finds out about this murder. Still just our speculation, your speculation. But do you agree it's possible? If you tell me the mechanics are possible, we have to look at the possibility. It's possible. 10 years ago, maybe. It wasn't, but drones are a real thing now. Could the person being carried control the drone so he doesn't need help? With a watch, an earplug and a mic, voice controlled. Artificial intelligence. While the weight of the killer is not in the harness, it waits. It needs to know, or they, same thing. Where's the window? What signals must I avoid? 100 different things. Camera and microphones. Direct communication with an operator somewhere who has other drones watching other things. Operators of the drone could be in Kansas. It's crazy shit. Fuck me. Blussah almost flinched. The thought of someone floating up to your bedroom window, popping in with a knife, assassinating you without a second so as not to wake your wife. That was one of those typical pointless entertainment extravagances Blussah detested. Extravagances Blussah detested. A bloody Hollywood movie. He's not even fucking with us. No arrogant signature. It was a clean job, unless your drone theory leads us somewhere. The hit leaves a clear message, unintended or intended. No one is safe. The playing field is evened out a bit, but that wasn't the reason. Maybe it's a delusional rich madman who thinks killing a few people will fix things up. Like a fucking hero out of a comic book, modern Batman. Something resembling a ghost. They already knew that they were unlikely to catch the killer. Statistics said so. A professional killer had a good lawyer between him and anything he did. Even if the killer was caught, he could sit in an interrogation room, saying nothing, looking as though he was trying not to look put out by such a tedious misunderstanding, while an impeccably dressed lawyer politely explained to the police that the police were way off the mark. Pondering time had to be postponed. Another murder victim had been discovered. Another didn't mean a small-time drug deal going bad. Another was in reference to the existing unusual cases. Unusual were the victims and the deliberation. Most murderers could have stood at the murder scene and looked no less guilty. The motive was almost always obvious. It was almost a waste of time to pay a seasoned detective to find them. They had inherited something bold and new, not an interaction gone sour, a serious killer, premeditated. Jenkens drove. Blussah preferred to drive. He often found it easier than watching someone else drive. Jenkens was probably a better driver than he was, especially if he had been drinking the night before. When she said she was driving, he gave no objection. He had learned to watch the road less over the years as partners. It gave him a little more time to think about things on the way to the crime. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
The house of the victim was not in the same class as the house they had been to the night before. It was the next level of money, a high-end security system of a lesser caliber. Getting around the security system in the new case was simple enough. Airstrike with only a bullet. A bullet that was close to being a missile had invaded his airspace and traveled through his head. Time of death has been established. Yes, 3 days. So he was watching the game on Saturday night, got up for something and was. The rest was there to look at. One quick look was enough to understand. Blood splattered on the wall. A body with a real mess where the head had been. And the hole in the wall. The hole in the wall and the hole in the window made it pretty obvious where the shot had come from. Blussah looked at the window to guess the position of the shooter. He looked at the hole in the wall, again to get a line of sight. The shooter was in the park, in those trees. 3 days ago. Blussah knew what they would find, but he walked out of the house and across the park anyway. He found the only spot that lined up with the trajectory path. Trajectory. He moved around it, knowing the forensics team would expect him to be so clever as to avoid dancing over possible evidence. He took a short look for an obvious boot print or anything shiny. Then he looked around to get a feel for the killer's perspective. There were many clear shots from in the park. The one the shooter had chosen was the best choice. What do you think, Jenkens? Line of sight looks about right. Still not an easy shot. No, you can cut me out. Not a hard shot for a good sniper. Nope. That bit seems clear enough. Are we still with the same killer? That seems to be the trademark. No pattern, no evidence. Except for the patterns of the victims. Could someone fly a drone with a gun on it? Shoot remotely? Jenkens smiled. Blussah was trying to get a jump ahead of her with the possible use of specialized equipment. I'm sure. But that doesn't mean they did. It was most likely someone stood about here and shoot the bugger. I'm pretty sure. You know what's interesting? What? Almost nowhere in the park would be a good place to shoot the guy. How long would someone have to walk through the park? They wouldn't. They could have something that's simple in a minute with a 3D map and a line of sight from window to ground. Oh, for fuck's sake. They would know he watches his big television. When he is most likely to be alone. What his porno preference might be. What's yours, Jenkens? You don't want to know. Blussah laughed. No, now he did. They were followed shortly after they had gone to the park. A small crew tapered the area so that a few lab types with their white clown costumes would spend half the day finding nothing of importance. There were no witnesses. The killer could have sacrificed a goat and not been seen by anyone, especially at night. Maybe the killer had been recorded by a surveillance camera somewhere nearby, but so was everyone else. They could study various types and look for anomalies on that Saturday. That was a dreadful work. Anyone in the park was anonymous. He always finds the cleanest way in and out. Blussah had to check himself. It was a danger of this job. To admire the work of a killer was not a crime, but it wasn't the best way for a murder detective to think, especially when their job was to catch the killer. Most killers were useless pieces of shit, lost their nut and went crazy on someone. In his 30 years of the force, Blussah seldom admired a killer even a little, but this killer was exceptionally good at his job. The best Blussah had investigated. Too much to make the temptation of admiration for a killer worse for Blussah. The more he found out about the victims, the more he wondered if the killer or the killer and those that hired him was doing a service. A thought had scary implications. Blussah decided he needed a drink. Ah, fuck.